Hey guys, so a very common question I get is I can't afford a GoPro or the Garmin or one of the expensive action cameras out there. I have $60, what should I get? Those are the questions I get quite often. Here's an example of something that I believe at the time was probably $50. Got this off of banggood.com. They sent it to me about 2 years ago for test and evaluation. The problem with stuff like this is it just escalates. Not only if you search for SJ4000 do you end up with 40 different versions of the SJ4000, but a month later they're going to have a different version out there. So kind of attesting to its quality, its differences. I don't know if the color and contrast is the same. The pretty standard sort of case. It was waterproof. I did take this down to Antarctica. However, that gets me on another subject with this sort of guy. So if I have both of these, oftentimes I still brought the GoPro because if I've got some amazing humpback that's breaching right next to my boat, that once in a lifetime kind of precious moment, what are you going to reach for? If I have a GoPro with me, even when I was trying to test this. So it did get quite a bit of use, and it's got some really cool features. I mean, even before all the other guys started doing a lot of their touch screens, this is quite a bit smaller here. Let me just kick it on so you can actually see the screen. But it is quite a bit smaller screen, but it's a decent screen, and it definitely works. It doesn't have the touch screen and all the fancy things that they do now. They may now. I honestly, if you go and see if we can get this to focus. There we go. You may check out the newer versions of them. I'll put a link down below, but certainly I know that some of the SJ series are doing 4K now. My biggest thing, if I can put these side by side here, was just the coloration. They have a lot of the same features as all the other cameras. You can see the size is nearly identical. This is a Hero 3 Plus, obviously. So near copy. Buttons are in a different spot. It has a nice waterproof case. I will say some of the mounts that came with the SJ were pretty inventive. This is their sort of naked case here. And it's got 1/4-inch screw on the top, 1/4-inch screw on the bottom. So some really neat chest mount stuff. There's actually a clamp that clamps back here. Obviously you still see the screen, but it was like a chest mount that like clipped on. Really cool attachment stuff. So even if you're not interested in, a cheaper camera, look into some of the SJ4000 mounts, and they have some really neat options that the GoPro doesn't ever come up with, but you can utilize that way. This guy here, like I said, has worked fine, flawlessly. I don't have a card in there at the moment, so we can't do some tests here, but I will insert some test shots. Biggest thing is one day I went out with the family and recorded with this guy, and so what I'm going to do is kind of a side by side here. Is I'll show you what happens when you take this. It's more of a brown picture, and that was my only complaint with this guy. For $50, this thing does everything GoPros do. So, really, if you are budgeted for, something else, spend the extra money on a nicer helmet, something else, instead of buying a Hero 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 Plus or whatever the heck they're going to come out with, or the Garmin that I use that I really like. Pick up an SJ series. Like I said, they are in 4K. And then you may have to do a little bit more editing. So here, let's cut to a clip of the just out of the camera. And then let's cut to what happens when you color grade it, which I don't really use a fancy editing program. So color grading to me means hit auto color correct on my Adobe Elements, which does have some weird effects anyway if you're trying to do it the lazy way. However, let's see what happens when we do that. So as you can tell, it definitely helped. It gets you closer to some of the color grades of a higher end camera. I'll put them side by side just to make it a little bit easier so you can tell. As you see, you're going through, it's definitely more of a browny yellow image on the left, definitely clear on the right. But, you know, look at websites like Bango.com and a couple others. The SJCAM, they've got some really neat things going on, and I wouldn't, you know, hesitate to use this as a second camera, or if I was on a budget and didn't want to spend the money. Now, one of the things you should probably look at is Hero 3 Pluses are probably quite a bit cheaper now. The old Sessions are quite a bit cheaper. You don't have to buy the newest, greatest, latest. This is a really cool option, guys, and I get the question a lot. So honestly, just get yourself a camera and attach it. It doesn't have to be, you know, epic quality right off the bat. Just go have fun with your friends on 2 wheels or whatever your adventure entails, and look into the SJ4000. I think it's totally worth it. Hey guys, just want to give you a huge thank you for the continued support that you always give me. We'll be putting out more content, as always, everything from the high Arctic down to Antarctica and everywhere in between for our adventures on 2 wheels. We'll catch you down the road. Thanks again, guys.